The headlines couldn't be grimmer for Labour. A record-breaking milestone has rocked the UK, with over 20,000 illegal migrants crossing the English Channel since Sir Keir Starmer took office just 5 months ago. The numbers, confirmed in official Home Office figures set to be released Monday, have ignited a political firestorm. For a government that campaigned on restoring order and smashing the gangs behind these crossings, the sheer pace of arrivals has thrown Starmer's leadership into question. The scale of this crisis is staggering. Starmer's administration has overseen a faster surge in crossings than his predecessor, Rishi Sunak, who took 8.5 months to hit the same milestone. This has prompted sharp criticism from Conservative MPs and emboldened Nigel Farage's Reform UK, which has steadily gained ground as the right-wing opposition to both Labour and the Tories. The timing couldn't be worse for Starmer, who is also grappling with a backlash over his economic policies and a public approval rating that has plunged into negative territory. What's most damning for Labour is the perception that they were caught unprepared. Starmer took office in July at the height of summer, when calm seas make channel crossings most feasible, yet despite inheriting a so-called mess from the Tories, Labour's opponents argue that his administration has had ample time to implement meaningful changes. Instead, they say, Starmer has focused on photo ops and diplomacy abroad, while chaos unfolds at home. Labour's response to the crisis has been a mix of deflection and damage control. In a statement, a Labour source blamed the Conservatives, quoting Robert Jenrick's admission that Tory immigration policies had let the country down badly. Labour insiders have repeatedly referred to the previous government's gimmicks, like the Rwanda deportation plan, as ineffective and ill-conceived. However, critics argue that blaming the Tories only goes so far. Labour promised a fresh start, and the public is now demanding results. Starmer himself has publicly acknowledged the gravity of the situation, addressing the nation in a recent Downing Street press conference. In a sombre tone, he vowed to tackle the root causes of illegal migration by targeting criminal gangs and securing international cooperation. "Where the last government failed you, this one will not," he declared. Yet his words ring hollow to many. With crossing numbers continuing to rise, the question on everyone's mind is whether Starmer's leadership is up to the task. Adding fuel to the fire is the sudden rise of Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage. Polling shows the party now enjoys over 10% support in Scotland, a remarkable surge that has alarmed both Labour and the Tories. Reform UK's success is seen as a direct response to public dissatisfaction with the major parties' handling of immigration and other key issues. Farage has seized the opportunity to position himself as the voice of reason, lambasting both Labour and the Conservatives for their perceived failures. Victoria Atkins, the Shadow Environment Secretary, appeared on GB News to address Reform UK's growing momentum, but her comments have done little to quell concerns. She urged disaffected voters to stick with the Conservatives, warning that splitting the right-wing vote could solidify Labour's supermajority. Atkins also took aim at Labour's broader policy agenda, calling it a budget of broken promises. She cited the controversial removal of winter fuel payments for pensioners as evidence that Labour's priorities are out of touch with ordinary voters. The growing popularity of Reform UK has sparked a fierce debate within Conservative circles. Some argue that the party must adopt tougher stances on immigration and other issues to win back voters. Others warn that pandering to Reform UK's rhetoric could alienate moderates and deepen divisions within the party. What's clear is that Farage's influence is reshaping the political landscape, and both Labour and the Tories are struggling to adapt. While the immigration crisis dominates headlines, Starmer is also facing mounting criticism over his handling of the economy. Recent polling for The Observer revealed that more than half of the public disapprove of the Prime Minister's performance, leaving him with a net approval rating of -32%. This marks a sharp decline from the optimism that surrounded his election victory just 5 months ago. In response, Starmer has unveiled a plan for change, which he describes as the most ambitious programme for government in a generation. The plan focuses on public sector reform, economic growth, and improving the NHS and education systems. Despite these promises, public confidence in Starmer's leadership remains low. Critics argue that his government's priorities are misplaced, pointing to controversial proposals like the family farm tax and increases in national insurance. These measures have drawn backlash from both Labour supporters and the wider public, with many questioning whether they will deliver the promised benefits. The immigration scandal has also reignited tensions between the UK and its European neighbours. Starmer has made international cooperation a cornerstone of his strategy, working closely with European law enforcement agencies to address illegal migration. However, his critics argue that this approach is too slow and lacks the decisive action needed to stem the tide of channel crossings. In the midst of this turmoil, Starmer is preparing to deliver a major foreign policy speech at the prestigious Lord Mayor's banquet. This event, held at London's historic Guildhall, will provide him with a rare opportunity to outline his vision for Britain's place in the world. However, the timing of the speech has raised eyebrows, with some questioning whether Starmer should be focusing on domestic issues instead. The Prime Minister's defenders argue that international diplomacy is essential for rebuilding the UK's global reputation after years of Tory mismanagement. They point to his recent efforts to strengthen ties with key allies and his commitment to addressing global challenges like climate change, but for many voters, these achievements feel distant compared to the immediate crises unfolding at home. Behind the scenes, Starmer is quietly assembling a team of experienced advisers to navigate these challenges. Jonathan Powell, a key architect of the Good Friday Agreement, has been appointed as National Security Advisor. Powell's appointment has been hailed as a sign of Starmer's intent to bring a steady hand to government. However, critics worry that relying on figures from the Blair era could alienate voters who are looking for fresh leadership. Reform UK, meanwhile, continues to capitalise on the chaos. Farage has doubled down on his criticisms of Labour and the Tories, accusing them of being two sides of the same coin. His rhetoric has resonated with voters who feel disillusioned with the political establishment and are looking for a genuine alternative. As the political drama unfolds, one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher for Sir Keir Starmer. With public confidence in his leadership waning and his government facing criticism on multiple fronts, the next few months will be crucial in determining his legacy. Can he rise to the challenge and deliver on his promises, or will he be remembered as yet another leader who failed to tackle the UK's most pressing issues? The immigration crisis, the rise of Reform UK, and the broader challenges facing Labour all point to a pivotal moment in British politics. For now, Starmer's honeymoon period is over, and the road ahead looks increasingly treacherous. The public is watching, and the clock is ticking. The question remains: will Starmer rise to the occasion, or will he be consumed by the scandals threatening to derail his premiership? And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.